Welcome to the Cowpot Bros podcast. I'm your host, Terrence, and with me is my co-host, Jason, calling in for the Batcave in Indianapolis. Jason, how are you, my good man?
I'm doing pretty well, sir. Hey, another great Tuesday in the world of the Cowpot Bros. Ready to get into it, man. Let's do it.
Yes, sir. This is episode 56 of the Cowpot Bros podcast. Thank you for listening. For the uninitiated, Cowpot Bros is the podcast to hear. We are a weekly podcast for fans of sports, current events, and entertainment.
And as always, folks, we're your hosts, Terrence and Jason, and every single Thursday, we come out with a brand new episode where we discuss the current events of the day, sports, and the athletes we love.
And even some of the athletes we loathe. No matter the topic, you can expect a brutally honest and fun exchange of snark while learning through the lens of our 30 years of friendship that originated in Calumet Park, Illinois.
And folks, for more Cowpot Bros content, make sure you connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok under the handle Cowpot Bros or Cowpot Bros Podcast for more behind the scenes of the show and just to engage with us every single day. But the Cowpot Bros Podcast is also available to listen and subscribe for free wherever I'm pointing at you, listen to podcasts.
Like us, love us, share us, follow us. Folks, if you like us, hell, why wouldn't you?
Like Terrence said earlier, folks, we are the podcast to hear and watch. So make sure you're living it, loving it, and doing it.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, speaking of Showtime, Dave Chappelle had an interesting stage appearance. I'm referencing an article from NBC News. Apparently, Dave Chappelle and his crew got ran up on. And this was a Tuesday night by a man who tried to tackle the stand-up comedian during a performance at the Hollywood Bowl in LA. So what's ironic is the video shows the tackle wasn't exactly the best tackle of all time. The form was suspect, but immediately Dave Chappelle's security squad was quick to deal with him. And I think what's really wild about it, number one, I don't know what it is. I know Dave Chappelle has pissed a lot of people off in the last 12 months due to some of his commentary, but I'm also not co-signing people just bum rushing the stage either. And so I think, and the fact that this guy had a replica gun is even crazier. So yeah, it is an interesting debate because yet again, depending on whether or not Dave Chappelle is your fave, you'll have people out here trying to say whether or not it's okay for people to do that. And I don't like that. You got to have one standard, dog. Either you find the acts of people that try to commit acts of violence against anyone, especially entertainers in this scenario. You either find that okay or you don't, and you just got to own your shit. But I do think it's really interesting the way people decide, oh, well, depending on the politics of those individuals, they're going to try and say whether or not it's okay or not. So, Jason, what are your thoughts?
So obviously initially, when you see the video of this happening, and again, it was last week, you see an individual coming up out of the, seats up on the stage and then tackling Dave Chappelle. And a quote unquote tackle, like you said, obviously he's not an NFL linebacker, so his tackling wasn't the best. And I don't think Dave even stayed on the ground either. So, and Dave's an old man, so compared to this guy. Now I know people immediately want to hearken back to the Oscars when it comes to making some sort of not comparison per se, but correlation to say, oh, well, blame Will Smith because he made it okay for other people to do it, blah, 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 blah. And I'm not willing to go that route because obviously when it comes to, in general, people interrupting even just comedic events or really any kind of events, sporting events as well, people have been doing that well before Will Smith. It's been a thing way back in time, definitely in the 80s for sure. Now, obviously, not every interruption is meant with violence or any physical act. It could be just somebody heckling the crowd, people running on the field. That's an interruption. Now, obviously, in this situation, which is this is probably one part of that is comparable to the Will Smith thing. Obviously, it's an act of physical attack or violence, whatever you want to call it. That's probably the only correlation there. Now, I'm not going to say this person did this because of Will Smith, because supposedly there was a reason given to Dave Chappelle by Lee about why he did this, which you can go into later. But to me, obviously, it's completely unnecessary for the reason that they did this. I'll go ahead and say it. Apparently, that night when it happened, while this gentleman was getting stomped out by security, I guess Dave Chappelle had a chance to talk to the individual before they loaded him up and took him off in handcuffs. And supposedly, Isaiah Lee, who's the guy, told Chappelle this. And then Chappelle told the crowd that night that Chappelle told the crowd that Lee claimed the attack was designed to draw attention to the plight of Lee's grandmother, who was displaced from her Brooklyn home due to gentrification. Now, that's what he told Dave. I don't know if that was the truth or not. Obviously, that's what he's claiming. I don't know a reason why he would tell Dave that if that wasn't the case, but we'll go off the premise that that was the truth. I am all for anybody who is passionate about something, some form of activism, and speaking out against things they feel like are wrong. Now, obviously, he claims he was trying to get attention. Again, activism can be great, but if your way of getting attention is a way winds up getting you thrown in jail, whether it be for a one night stay in jail, whether it be for a misdemeanor or a felony, I feel like the message gets lost too much. It does get attention potentially depending on what the issue is on it, but I feel like the more the focus is going to be on the act of that individual as opposed to what the act is supposed to be for.
Yeah, the cause. Yeah, I
Exactly.
often feel, and there was a situation in the first round of the NBA playoffs where this young woman was desperate to get on the court. NBA security was eyeballing this lady, and then her form was immaculate. Okay, like she could run her own clinic in the off season. Okay.
Well, little different scenario, but like I said, but I hear you. I do recall that, and that's another. And I actually know that lady who actually ran on the court. I actually know that person, but yeah,
Okay. Full stop.
I'll tell you that off camera. But even in that situation, that kind of goes to my point as well. Is that obviously that form of activism? Yes, it's a good way to get eyes on the situation in general. But I just kind of wonder, based off some of the comments I've seen regarding that situation, and even this with the Dave Chappelle thing, do the eyes get pointed toward more of this, as far as the act of you running the court and getting tackled in the way you did, or in this guy's case, getting stomped out? Is more the focus not going to be on that as opposed to whatever your cause was? And I feel like definitely in Dave Chappelle's situation, as far as this gentleman, Isaiah Lee, how quickly is it going to be forgotten, even mentioned at all, that why he's supposedly doing this? It's going to come up in court, I'm sure, because he pled not guilty to the misdemeanors, 4 of them, by the way. Right. So I'm sure he's going to explain that when it comes to his reasoning. And if it's this, I mean, some people might see that and start caring, but again, levels,
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, man. I do think it's not that often. I find, first off, you're playing with your life. Let's start there, because professional sports security, too much shit has happened in professional sports in the last 20 years for people to just think that they're casually going to get on court and nothing's going to happen to them. And either by security or by the player themselves. And so for me, the idea that someone would feel so comfortable as to think that they're going to actually get this close to this person and there isn't going to be a reaction is incredibly brazen.
Well, I will say, in the case of, I'm sure even this gentleman too, I think they do these things knowing there's a large percentage chance that they're going to be arrested and in jail at least for one night. Now, obviously, this guy's got 4 misdemeanor charges on him, and he's got to bail out for 30 grand if he can even do that. But yeah, I think you have to go into that knowing this is going to happen, because I agree with you. If you think you can do that and get away with it with nothing happening, good luck. And I feel like everybody's going to be on high alert now because of this, and obviously the Will Smith thing too. And we'll throw T.I. in there too. Even though he didn't physically attack anybody, but yeah, there's been video of him interrupting a comedy show because apparently the person told jokes about him previously, and he trying to stand up against it. Anybody don't know what I'm talking about? Google it; it's there. Check it out. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, so again, honestly, I guess my whole point in all this is that interruptions in large scale events like this, or largely publicized events like this, are never going to stop. Because the thing is, people are watching, and obviously, even in the eyes of social media everywhere, if you're wanting to get attention on something, it's going to happen. People are going to do that. Now, again, most people may not go as far as this guy to actually tackle the individual on stage, but again, stuff like this may be more of a common occurrence as far as people trying to get on stage to get attention. Let's say if he just got on stage to, again, do exactly what he was trying to do, get attention on his the gentrification happening in Brooklyn. What if he just got on stage with a sign or microphone saying, "Hey, blah blah blah, my name is blah blah blah, and I'm talking about this, that, or the other," with no physical contact with Dave Chappelle.
Right.
Would have been a whole lot different. Still might have gotten the attention as far as the eyes in the crowd, anybody with cell phone cameras. But now those cameras are focused on
cell phone cameras at Dave Chappelle's show. Remember?
Well, people must have had him in the show to get that on camera. So it's what it is. Let's hope Netflix. Those could have been Netflix cameras. Who knows? But
yeah.
But it didn't look like it from the quality. It didn't look like Netflix cameras. So
right. Yeah, Netflix CEO's camera, maybe. I don't know. Or his phone.
Right.
Yeah, dude. You're right, 100%. These sort of encounters aren't going to go away, but I do think the escalation, and rather the mitigation, really, you're just going to have more people committed to, okay, hypothetically, what happens? How do you respond? Like security forces and stuff like that. They're just going to be more aggressive when these things occur. So
maybe. I mean, people might be smart. Even with this guy, even though he had a weapon on him in his attack with Dave Chappelle, he didn't brandish the weapon at all. He attempted to take him down, such as it is, and he ran off. So because he easily could have hurt Dave if he wanted to. I mean, he had the time, had the weapon on him, but he didn't try to pull it out according to reports and everything, witnesses and all stuff like that. So now, obviously, if somebody is crazy enough and that is their intention to actually hurt Dave Chappelle physically, like stabbing him or shooting him, then that'll be a different story. And obviously, this gentleman, supposedly, that wasn't what he was trying to do, which I kind of had to believe because, again, he had the chance to do it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's not going to be enough. And it at a minimum, the court of public opinion, and at a maximum, the court of law. So time will tell, my guy.
Well, the court of law has already spoken a little bit because the prosecutor denied to charge him with any felonies. Which is why it's 4 misdemeanors. So, for what he said several times, under California law, there's no felony that was committed. So,
yeah. So murder was not the case that they gave him.
Not today.
No, not today. Right on. All right. That concludes our first segment on the Dave Chappelle encounter. Coming up next, we're going to discuss Facebook getting out of the podcast business on Cal Park Bros.